Hello and welcome to this quite unusual video on this channel. Well, today I'm playing Kerbal Space Program, and this is a mission I just flew a week back, and I went to Duna, Minmus, and the Mun with an SSTO without ion engines or refueling, and yeah, this is how it's gonna go. So right now you see me taking off on the runway, just gonna gain speed. This craft only has 2 rapiers and it's about 63 tons, so it's incredibly slow on the runway. But once we get into the air, like we're gonna do at the end of the runway right here, it should gain a bit of speed over the water. I'm gonna speed this footage up because this took quite a bit of time, but I'm just slowly gaining speed at sea level because there's a lot of air there, so engines work pretty well. And then once I'm up over 420 meters per second or something, I'm gonna gain some altitude and try to get up to the thinner parts of the atmosphere where drag is not too big of a deal. And yeah, I'm just gonna flatten out right here to gain a lot of speed up here at around 15 kilometers altitude. And then I'm gonna activate my 2 nuclear engines right here at around 20 kilometers, I think. Now I know they're clipped together slightly, but it's not that bad. I think you could do it without that. And the fuel tanks are not really clipped, but now we're gonna use the Rapier's closed cycle mode and just for a few seconds, and then just use the nuclear engines for the rest of the way to orbit. And I'm gonna do a burn towards the Duna system because my first destination is Ike. I'm gonna land on Ike to use a bit of fuel, so I'm gonna be lighter once I'm gonna land on Duna because that's gonna be needed because of the low thrust to weight ratio of this craft. And here you see me aero brake at Duna to get myself captured and get my apoapsis up to around Ike's height so I can capture at Ike as well. And I think I got it pretty much first try. Well, never mind, it was close enough. But here I'm gonna circularize at Ike, so I'm gonna be ready to land here. And this craft had around 7,000 meters per second of delta V with the nuclear engines in orbit, and now we're down to around 5,200 after the landing. And right now we're landing and touchdown. Boom. The landing gear are quite fragile, but luckily the gravity isn't too high here, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal. And I just EVA'd very gracefully out of the seat, just flew out, I guess. Very nice. And I don't have any flags to plant because I'm gonna save that for Duna, so I'm just gonna take off with the nuclear engines and use some RCS thrusters I placed at the front to just get the nose high up so I won't slam into the ground. It was kind of close, but I mostly used those for the Duna landing and takeoff because gravity is higher there than any of the other 3 landings I'm gonna do. And here you see me get back to Duna, I guess. And I'm just gonna get my periapsis down so I can get a good aero braking pass. And after that, I'm gonna do the landing. Now this is sped up, but right now I'm going really fast still, like 800 meters per second. And also pretty low in the atmosphere because the atmosphere here at Duna is quite thin. So I'm just gonna slowly lose some speed and stay at a relatively low altitude, except for right here because I had to go over this like mountain coming up ahead. If you see, yeah, you can see it right on the left. But I gained too much height, so now I'm kind of high up. But it's fine. And then I'm searching for a landing spot, and right about here I see one, and I'm just slowing down like crazy because yeah, I was going pretty fast. And then I'm gonna use this trick I'm gonna do for the landing, which is I have parachutes at the front and the back that I'm gonna deploy right here to slow down immensely. And then I'm also gonna land downhill to make my vertical speed relatively small compared to the surface. And use the RCS thrusters again to make the impact less hard, even though it's kind of bouncy and hard anyways. But yeah, that's the Duna landing. Then I got out and planted my good old flag right here. I only had one mission, one flag, because I used the command seat for this mission, but that was a pretty good shot right there. And now I'm just gonna roll down and take off. On the takeoff, I am pretty sure I got this first try because the surface kind of not that bumpy right here, which is pretty nice. And then there's this kind of ramp, I guess. But the landing took quite a few tries because it's super hard. The landing gear are super fragile. And I'm just gonna use the RCS thrusters to get above this ledge right here. Very close. Well, not that close, but sort of close. And then the rest of the way to orbit is pretty smooth sailing. Now right here, I'm opening the cheats menu to make sure I didn't have anything on because the landing was quite hard and these landing gears are pretty fragile, but luckily I didn't have any cheats on, so we should be all good. And now I'm just gonna coast all the way to orbit with the nuclear engines activated. They should give about 1.2 thrust to weight ratio, which is enough for a space plane to get to orbit on Duna. And just in a minute, you're gonna see me circularize at Duna. Right here. Just a small burn, and then after that, I'm just gonna basically burn back to Kerbin. And then just travel back to Kerbin after I got the encounter right. And then I'm just gonna aero brake at Kerbin, just like I did at Duna, just to get my self-captured and get my apoapsis up to Mun's height so I can land there. You can see me doing that right here. Got it pretty good first try. And then after that, I'm just gonna do the Mun landing. Now I came towards the ground pretty fast, so I had to pitch up, but then I gained too much vertical speed, so now I'm going up again. So this wasn't a very efficient landing, but it worked, and I had enough delta V left over, so it was fine. And then you're gonna see me touch down right here and activate the landing gear and brake so I don't slide around. And then I'm just gonna use the RCS thrusters again to cushion the landing so it's not as hard. They're pretty nice and pretty useful along this mission for basically all the landings except for the last one. And now I'm just gonna stand here because I have nothing to do, no flags left. And then I'm just gonna take off and use the RCS thrusters yet again. And just fly over this crater to give myself some vertical height to get enough speed to get into orbit. And after circularizing at the orbit, which I'm gonna do very soon, like basically right here, I'm gonna burn from Mun all the way up to Minmus, which you are gonna see right here, I guess. And I'm gonna do a few mid-course corrections. I also did that for a lot of the other transfers, which I didn't show because they're quite boring. But after getting to Minmus, I quickly circularized, and then it's time for the landing. And I'm just gonna use the nuclear engine. This is the easiest landing by far of this mission because the gravity is so low on Minmus. So this was basically a piece of cake. This wasn't hard at all. First try. And just give it a minute. And I'm just gonna cancel out all that horizontal speed. So it's gonna be a slow touchdown. Very nice. Landing on all 4 gears. Perfect. And then I'm just gonna wait here again, no flags, yet again, and then I'm gonna use the RCS thrusters again and then take off. Pretty simple takeoff because of the low gravity. And then I'm just gonna speed this footage up to get into orbit because it's quite slow. And yeah, I should be in orbit pretty soon. Now from orbit, I just need to burn back to Kerbin, which I didn't show because it wasn't really necessary to show. I guess. But now I'm just aero braking at Kerbin to lower my apoapsis so I get some slower speeds once I'm gonna land. And the landing proved to be the hardest part by far, the landing on Kerbin, because the balancing is so off after all the fuel is gone. But right now I'm trying to repack the parachutes and the crafts just start spinning out like crazy. I got hit in the head by the tail fins a few times, but I managed to do it. And then I'm just gonna come in towards the landing right here, going over the desert and oceans. And then we'll see the kind of island, I guess the place, the continent, the space center is at right in front of me. So I'm just gonna spin out to get a lot of drag. You can see the unstable instability. And then right here, I'm gonna deploy my the two parachutes I have on the back to get my front pointing down. This is really useful. That's why I repack the chutes in space, and then I'm just gonna cut them once they fully deploy. And now I can gain some speed back and get some stability. And I'm also gonna use the rapier engines to get even more speed because there's quite a bit of way back to the KSC right over there in the far in the front. But yeah, this mission was honestly super fun to do, even though the Kerbin landing was extremely hard. Because this took like over 10 tries, and all the tries take extremely long time because it takes a long time to slow down at Kerbin. Luckily, quick saves is my friend, so I just used those. And right now I'm just gonna deploy the landing gear, and then I'm just gonna land back at the Kerbal Space Center. There isn't really anything special left to the of the mission, except for this landing. I did do a pretty nice landing, I feel. Pretty smooth, just slowing down right here. And you're gonna see that landing coming up right here. And touchdown. Nice. Now I'm gonna turn on the brakes, and that concludes this mission. Thanks for watching. This was a ton of fun to create, and I guess I'll see you next time. Bye.